But here's what we want to do as we continue to think about uh, expanding the ripples, right? We want to think about as a community, how can we, bring some of this to others or stay connected and work on things that are the next challenges and such. And so, just going back to Howard's slide here, we are a community of provocateurs, and we want to talk a little bit about leadership labs. And all of us come from different backgrounds, have different preferences: learners, advocates, explorers, facilitators, builders. There's coaches, and there's more. And so, how do we start to think about how we can apply these into leadership labs? And so what we've done in the past, last year, actually 2 years ago, the first incarnation of leadership labs happened when a small group of us formed a team to simply develop some a leadership experience. And then last year we had 5 different teams come together. So we had the Courageous Community Dialogue, we had Unlearning Racism, Leading During COVID, Total Rewards, and Democratizing Leadership in Education is the other one. And so these labs are meant to be an opportunity that we can go deeper with something. We can dive in, we can learn, we can explore, and then we meet regularly. And there's, of course, somebody leading it and coaching it. But we need to identify some additional labs because some of these labs are continuing. And I do want to say that in this process, we loosely and generally apply a design thinking type of an approach. So we really want to go out and talk to people that are experiencing this. I believe one of the provocateurs talked about, how do you go to those people that are in the middle of an organization that are experiencing the pain point and really try and understand it from their perspective, invite them in to coming up with defining the problem, coming up with solutions, prototyping, testing, and continuing to iterate until you get something that's a little bit more refined. Some of that is going to apply to what you want to look at. Some of it won't, but that framework can generally happen. And so just a little bit more briefly, some of those leadership labs from this past year, we had the Creative Community Dialogue, where a team of people came together led by Lyndon and Bill here, and they really dove into creating what ended up becoming this ICU tool. And we all like to be seen. And the way Lyndon describes it is when you think about what's happened in America in the past, there's a lot of people that are acting in a way that one could say they want to be seen. And how do we better understand that? So this tool can help us. And many of us have experienced this when they've facilitated a session to launch this calendar year with an ILC. And that recording is out there. I'm going to keep these short. Unlearning Racism came together recognizing that one of the biggest challenge is diversity, equity, inclusion, whatever name you want to talk about it, but that continues to be an incredible challenge in our country, in our communities, in our organizations. And how do we continue to understand that? And how do we apply that to the leadership forum? So it was great to just hear Kati say that, boy, we've done a lot since last year to make this community more inclusive and engaging, and she felt more welcomed. That is music to our ears. Thank you, Kati. Learning during COVID, this team interviewed over 100 people in organizations and such, and they produced our first white paper, which was tremendous. It's out there online. This could be something that you all tackle around a different subject. They also presented Total Rewards, Robert Schott and Kurt Meinhold leading a little bit of a smaller team here, but they are really exploring how do we need to think about rewards in a different way, given the diversity of needs, and how do we leverage the authentic individual skills that can enhance an organization in a way that we don't when we simply silo people in a role. I hope I said that right, Robert. And he has a number of podcasts that they've created. Democratizing Leadership in Education, we had 2 leadership lab teams that merged and worked, and they ended up running 7 pilots of some new content curriculum about how do we immerse leadership into schools so that all students learn and grow. The simplicity on the other side of complexity, right? How do these leadership essentials, things get into students so that they can benefit? you can tell that I am deeply motivated by all of these, because it's some of the action, it's some of the curiosity that drives our alchemical community to thinking about how do we explore and bring things to life. And so with that, I am going to ask you to go into a little bit of a survey here that I'm going to put in the chat out there. Matthew, I think you have it too. But these are some labs that are continuing: Courageous Community Dialogue, Unlearning Racism, Democratizing Leadership and Education. Actually, Lyndon and Bill, I might have misspoken there. I don't know if Courageous Community Dialogue is continuing, but Unlearning Racism and Democratizing Leadership and Education is. And we want other people, we want fresh perspectives, we want more diverse perspectives. And so the next slide here is going to, well, that's the final slide. We want to be able to surface new ideas. We want to be able to surface new partners in this community. And you can bring this to other people and invite, and we will organize around that. Let me pause and see if there are any questions out there at the moment, or anything that anyone would like to supplement. I work well with a co-lead here, Anne, and the officers. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Joel, could you just clarify for people whether you are interested in anyone adding on to a currently functioning group, or if you would also like suggestions for additional things to focus on, additional labs?
Diana, that's perfect. So yes, the Unlearning Racism team is looking for more people to join it. We'll figure out roles and such as that moves forward. Also, the Democratizing Leadership in Education is looking for more space. And if anybody else has a lab that they want to continue, they could say, oh, I didn't know we're going to continue this, or I'd like to continue this with some other people. But Diana, we're also looking for new ideas. So if people want to learn more about polarities, right, we could do something around polarities. If people want to learn more about transformations, or working with ASYV, as they said, to think about how we can use their tool in different communities, they are willing to do one. So those are ideas that I have heard out there. Thank you, Diana. Great question. And Matthew, I can't see chat. Mine's minimized here. Did you put it out in chat?
Yes, the link is in the chat.
Great. So there's 3 questions in there. One's about, there's 3 questions. You can read them, self-explanatory. Take yourself off mute if you have any other questions. I'll be here.
And you can type whatever you want to in those spaces. If it's not just an answer to that question, just put it in there and we'll read it.
And always, you can leave your name and we'll follow up with you.
Real quick, Lyndon, did you say that your group is kind of winding down?
Yes, so we've come to a point where we've come to a concluding point. We've got a tool, we've got a framework, and we're in the process of putting out a resource to explain the tool and the framework. So we're at a certain kind of point. We understood, of course, that dialogue and community is very central to the work, of course, of the Leadership Forum. So guessing that something will emerge that's related to that work moving forward. But let me start my video here. Don't have my audio cut out, but yeah, we're at a kind of point that we think that the work that we started last year is at a point to kind of conclude. Both Bill and Sue have been involved in this work, so if you want to chime in as well, that would be great.
Yeah, so if people are interested in even just learning a little bit more about that tool, I'm sure that a facilitated conversation could happen with that. And then maybe there's a new team that takes it and explores creating something new under that banner of courageous dialogue. There can be new iterations and derivatives each year for the same topic, and that's okay.
If it's okay to put an idea out there that is just been something that's emerging for me that I feel represents many things. So here, I live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I've been hearing about the decline in community centers that often were in less privileged neighborhoods that provided places for youth to come, especially in the summers after school, get enrichment, have a place to hang out, keep them off the streets, get development. And a lot of those places in places like Greensboro have gone away, and the programming is now available for fee, like camps and things that you have to pay for. And in a way, this is putting kids back out on the street and driving some of the societal kind of impacts that we see. So just thinking about ASYV and what they were talking about, like centers for youth development, and thinking about, of course, leadership development of youth, and reviving places where conversations can happen. It feels like that's, a need certainly here where I live, but I'm wondering if this is what a need around the country. And Joel, as you were talking about, how do we move the front porch to front porches, if you will, in our neighborhood, right? And quote, democratize even what the leadership forum is about. So that's just something that I'm pondering.
So Lyndon, I love it. You were breaking up just a little bit, but I think you got I think you have a good idea there. Put it in that survey, that Google form. But just to summarize, sounded like you were talking about, community centers shutting down, and youth sometimes not having a place to go to. And how do we take that concept of our front porch and serving our communities and such? I think that's a ripe idea, connecting that to ASYV and such. So with that, I am actually going to pause our conversations. You can enter something in chat. I'll pay attention to it. But I do want to pass the ball on time to Chuck, or not to Chuck, to Howard, because we are pivoting towards the close. Howard, there's your handoff.
Thank you very much, Joel.
And I'm going to interrupt him one more time. Let's all take ourselves off mute and give this magic man a round of applause for chairing this summit. Now it's to you, Howard.
The one thing that I learned very early in my career is surround yourself with good people, and then you get a round of applause at the end, because it's the work of all the people around you and not necessarily you, and just stay out of their way. So a big thank you to the planning committee, to the board, to the officers, and most importantly, to all of you who participated, who are on the line now. And, I think that what I would say is a few things. Let's just recap today. Today we began with song with Kyle, and we wrote a song and he sang it so well, and we sang along. And I think don't forget about the power of song, and to break down barriers. And how do we break down barriers to engage in better, more effective conversation, dialogue, and that leads to action. Eric Bailey and Joe Tankersley provided two wonderful LFC talks, which I found informational and, more importantly, inspirational in terms of how we really think about who we are and what we do and how we move forward. So thank you very much to Eric and Joe. To my team of colleagues, so gratifying to see the level of engagement through the process that you led us through in terms of leading through unprecedented times, and how we can be more effective leaders by the way we go through our paces as leaders, etc. The life journey experience, repairing and transforming both ourselves and our communities, our organizations. Chuck, I love the exercise. I love the tools and resources that you provided. And most importantly, the takeaways for each of us, and how quickly you can use those tools to distill a lot about what's going on in your mind, and then put it into perspective. And I love the use of visual leadership, visual imagery and so forth to do that. To the team, the officers team on the ripple effect, boy, I want a recording of what you said in the beginning. And then the conversation among all of us was just very powerful. And certainly, Joel, your discussion about like, what can we do and how can we get involved in certain ways moving forward with our leadership labs, such an instrumental way of moving forward and really taking things to heart, but putting things into action. When we started this summit, we had 3 key goals. One was to increase our consciousness. Second, it was to create an experience that reflects the Leadership Forum community as just that, a very supportive community that extends your network. And lastly, by creating an experience and perhaps a sense of urgency to activate you to take action after you leave here. I would ask you all right now to just put in your comments about whether or not you felt that the summit increased your consciousness, was experientially positive, as I outlined, and it will compel you to take action as you move forward. As many of our members of our community have said before, feedback is a gift. So please put in chat your feedback now. Thank you for those putting in comments into chat. So much appreciated. So as you put in your comments, I would like to turn it to partner in crime, Lynette Gomez, to provide some personal observations about the summit from her perspective. And then when she's done, she'll turn it back to me just for some closing comments and a little bit of an ask from us at the Leadership Forum.
Thank you, Howard. For those of you who don't know me, I feel so grateful to know many of you here, even if it's for 7-minute breakouts. This is my second summit, and like last one, I was, like many of you, world turned upside down, and this experience gave me such a high vibration and energy in a very grounded way that I couldn't not lean into this organization more in the last year. And so as I experienced this year through a different lens, I was, like Howard mentioned, I'm now on the board and I was on the committee planning this. It was such a gift and privilege to not just be able to plan, but really be able to experience it along with you throughout this journey. What I am in awe of is how this community at a sort of a collective level, but individual level, always finds a way to show up. And, Howard talked about sort of 3 really important foundations of how we designed this summit. And it was around the goal around increasing consciousness, creating an experience, and then be able to take that into action. And so if I think about those 3 areas in terms of increasing consciousness, I saw our deep levels of consciousness. I was seeing through the deep, perhaps even radical curiosity by all of your active listening, who I mentioned I had the privilege to be around, the creative thinking I saw, the visual talk, and in the restraint and judgment, which is very hard sometimes. In terms of creating an experience, many of you don't know, when we were designing this summit, we were very deliberate in how we created a story arc in the sessions that were designed. So we went from societal to community, organizational, team, and self. And you probably, maybe you didn't notice, we've slowly today, we went from sort of that sort of societal more deeply into the sort of self view. And so it was really interesting to see that come to life. And when I hear people like Kati earlier saying she felt included, that was also a really important part in how we put this together, and to hear that means a lot. You know, the experiences that we created, I noticed that people were really interacting, really, it felt really intimate and energizing. The courageous participation was amazing. So it was really great to see all of that. In terms of taking action, even in real time, right? In the breakouts, it was undeniable. People already starting to take action in their learning. You know, just look at those Google slides that Faith and Matt designed. How brilliant to already see that action plans already in writing. And I invite you to continue participating in the Participate app that we shared yesterday, but also to continue to participate by having a dialogue with others. You know, if there's a need you have, I encourage you to put in the chat what you need, whether it's to the collective or to an individual. Like, I want to be in conversation or collaboration with someone who wants to, or someone who is, or someone who can X, whatever that thing is. Yeah, and just, you know, encourage you to submit the article that we mentioned yesterday. If you want to submit your learning that you've had, that's another way to continue to participate and be in action. Yeah, and then, you know, how this summit is already, you know, having this ripple effect, not just in the 2 sessions ago, the great session around the ripple effect, but I invite you to continue to ride that wave and play in that, because I saw a lot of playfulness already through all of you. And there are a lot of learnings that already started to happen full circle. You know, this topic of ripple effect and the learning around privilege, and how, you know, one individual in a breakout said, privilege is not only not a bad thing, it's an advantage to use, and how he's going to actually use that to help others and find ways to leverage their privilege, the privilege of others. So, you know, last thing I'll say that was just a really fun way to take it visually, you know, these 7 stages of leadership, and how it's, someone said it's, you know, they're between 2 shoe sizes, right? They're between a 4 and a 5. And that's just kind of thinking of what that can mean for us. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Howard, who's going to share a little bit of how you can be involved in other ways. Over to you, Howard.
Thanks, Lynette. And Matthew, if I could ask you to please bring up the slides. You know, just reinforcement. What is our mission? Our vision is to empower conscious leadership. We take that very seriously. We believe that leadership matters, and we believe that there's a role for each of you, each of us, to participate in different ways, and those ways can evolve. We may begin our journey with the Leadership Forum as a learner. We may begin our journey as an explorer. We may become an advocate, a facilitator, or a builder. Lots of different ways based upon your interests, your passions, and so forth. So we encourage you to think about how you get even more involved. If we flip to the next page, please. The summit is just one event. It's part of the journey. It's a step along the way. It's a big part of our journey in the course of any one year. But as Joel pointed out, there's so many more ways to get involved and to stay involved through leadership labs, through participation in incubating leadership conversations, and coming up with new ways, whether it's the digital format or the book and so on. So we look at the summit as a critical part of our journey, but only a step, and the journey continues. As we flip to the next page, get more involved. And I'm gonna, think about this, and here's the ask to each of you and to people that you know and work with, is consider the value that the Leadership Forum brings to you, and think about how you might be able to give back. Sign up as a member. It's $150 a year for membership. That is part of our overall business plan to increase our membership. It helps us to do what we want to do. It helps us to expand and empower conscious leadership. So that is one way. The other way is through donations. I myself work for a company that will actually put money in the bank, so to speak, for every hour that I volunteer time for this organization or others. And that's one way. But you may want to give $1. You may want to give $10 or $100 or more. It's up to you, but those funds will help us to create a more powerful and sustainable organization. So we do ask you to consider making a donation if in fact you've gotten value out of this experience and others. Last but not least, give of your time. Please give of your time. Volunteer, get involved. We have an open door policy, digital, virtual, front door, physical. The door is always open for more people to get involved. And we learn from each other and we grow from each other. So that active involvement is so important to us. You'll get follow-up communications from us. Here's the address. Perfect. And by the way, if in fact you become a new member, or if you donate, or if you renew your membership this year, anytime during this year, you'll also get a t-shirt that reinforces our message about the Leadership Forum, visible reminder of your commitment to our overall goal of furthering and expanding conscious leadership. So we thank you for your participation. The day is not over. The day is not over. We are moving to a networking event. And one of the most powerful things when we met in person was simply the getting together and chatting. So we encourage you all to stay over the course of the next hour for as long as you can. So thank you, everybody. And thanks for all those who are not on the line right now, but joined yesterday or earlier today.
Thank you.
Unbelievable.
Would anyone who can turn back your video on, and I'll take a group picture?
As long as you turn off your AC.
Once again. Okay, I think that's what we got. Okay. Got it.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Ray.
Hey everyone, I can't hang out. I would love it. I see all these faces I love out there, but I have to jump and got something else to do. But this was phenomenal. I mean, when you think like it can't get any better, it gets better. And so all of you who contribute to this, just a huge standing ovation for you all. It was really a great, meaningful 2 days here. Just, I'm still like, I'm going to be processing this for weeks to come. But it's so nice to see everybody. I see all these faces. I go, oh, I got to reach out and say hello and connect, and new faces. Welcome to you all. I love you. Go make this world a better place. You know, never doubt what a small group of people can do to change the world. I'm happy and proud to be part of this community. God bless.
That was like a 15-second nugget.
It was a long nugget. Sorry.
That was 90 seconds, I think.
Nugget.
90 seconds.
Bye.
For
So
those
Howard,
let me just share something, Steve. So for those who didn't make the connection with 90 seconds and nugget, Rich on his LinkedIn profile posts 90 seconds of wisdom, little videos that he puts together. He does a really phenomenal job. So recognizing that some people know Rich and know what he's doing, I wanted to connect those dots for some of our new community. So thank you. I interrupted Steve.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I doubly second what Joel just said. Rich is a real great member of this community, and those nuggets are really a lot of fun. Howard, if I heard you correctly, I just want to clarify something. You belong to an organization that will make donations based on the time that you volunteer. Well, obviously, we got to start working you longer hours.
I believe that is true. There might be an upper cap on that, you know, and But we'll figure it out. We'll work the numbers, Steve.
And for what
Right.
it's worth, your team was amazing. So we could just keep adding them into the volunteer hours if they're great, interested.
As you can tell, this is a little bit of popcorn time for anyone. We're not looking for thank yous or specific comments. If you feel the move to speak, ask a question, do stuff in chat. It is great to see everyone. I'll be quiet.
Well, I get the pleasure of moving us into our celebration. So I get the best job of these whole 2 days.
Excellent.
Way to go, Ann.
So we do want as many as you as can to stick around so we can just talk with each other. You know, the best part about being together physically is when, you know, the sessions are over and we can mill about and talk with each other, you know, grab a beverage, grab a snack, and just get to know each other better, share our aha moments, kind of relax. And that's what this time is all about. It's really about giving us a chance to try and replicate what we would do if you were at an in-person conference, but do it here on Zoom, all from our own front porches or basements or wherever we are. And we don't want to lose the energy either. I know we've been through a long 2 days, but like somebody said, there's a lot of electricity going on, a lot of synapses going on. So we don't want to lose that. Hopefully the excitement is still there that you gained through all of these sessions for the last couple of days. So, you know, one of the things we thought about doing is we can chat for a bit as a larger group, but then if there are enough people hanging around, what we will do is we'll put ourselves into maybe some little larger breakout groups, like about 6 people in a group, as if you were milling around and joining a group of people to talk. And then we're going to reshuffle those groups so that you'll go join another group, just as you might do if you were in a room together having a social hour. So, you know, one of the things we thought about as we come to this, just like everybody was saying thank you and saying goodbye to Rich as he was leaving, we were thinking about the topic of gratitude and, you know, how gratitude is something that can be so important for us. So Sue is going to share a little bit about gratitude from her perspective to get the ball rolling here. And other than that, there is no agenda for this than for all of us to chat, have fun, and enjoy.
Thank you, Anne. And speak before I get into the larger topic of gratitude. In addition to Howard, Lynette, and a great team, we have to give Anne a round of applause for being the glue that's held us together so many times throughout the planning for this summit and the heart and soul of the LFC. So thank you, Anne.
She's like our she's like our summit whisperer.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great name. That is so awesome. I love it.
But sometimes she doesn't. Sometimes she doesn't whisper. I just want you to know. She makes it very clear, in a nice way, of course.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. So in thinking about repair, and Anna's so incredibly right that we hear a lot about how gratitude helps us to heal and helps us to become stronger and helps us to refocus and change our brains. One thing, so I just wanted to remind all of us of that. And one thing I've been reading about lately that's related to gratitude is this concept of savoring. Has anybody heard about the concept of savoring? Because I really am, I don't know, jazzed about it. And I think it's a way of taking gratitude into a deeper level. And as we know, our brains tend to, because our brains are great, they just want to keep us safe. So they tend to focus on some of the negative things, but not for a bad reason, but they just want to keep us safe. So the art of gratitude and savoring is a way to really kind of shift our brains. And savoring is just taking that gratitude and going deep into that moment, like savoring the moment. whenever we can. If we take a moment to do that, it changes everything. The first thing it does is that it diminishes the space in our minds that are devoted to those negative thoughts that tend to pop in. And it also amplifies the positive thoughts and feelings, and so that we're more aware of them. And when we savor something and we have gratitude, we bring more of that into our lives. So what we focus on gets bigger, which is so incredibly important. So I thought we could take, literally even just 10 seconds for all of us to think of one thing that we're thankful for. It could be something in relation to the Leadership Forum Summit, or something in relation to our lives, or even this moment right now, and just close our eyes and literally just savor in that moment. So if everyone could just close their eyes and savor the gratitude. Okay, great. That was a little bit more than 10 seconds, but I was feeling your vibrational energy, so I had to keep it going a couple of extra seconds. And the nice thing about savoring that is really important that I wanted to share is it doesn't have to be some big, great event to savor. If we can find ways to have gratitude and savor in every moment, in ordinary moments that are really not ordinary, that's when we can really not only change our brains, our hearts, but have a really repair and heal and help others to do that as well. So one last thing I want to do before we go into our breakout groups is a way of having a big gratitude is for this community. So just really, I am so grateful for this community, and I thought we could do one other quick activity together, because when we have a shared experience and a shared memory, that's something that we hold with us forever. So this is what we're going to do, and hang with me, but if everyone could hold 2 fingers up. 2 fingers up. Okay, here's what we're going to do. This 2 fingers up is a part of a shared experience, and it looks very cool on my screen. But one of the things that Lyndon has taught us, and so many people have talked about, is this concept of sawubona, and that's the Zulu greeting is I see you, right? So and that I see you, and Joel brought it up before too, it's meant in a deep way, on a deep level. It means I see your worth, I appreciate you, we are one. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to channel my teenagers and we're going to tell each other that I see you. I see you. So I see you. I see you. Excellent. And then also a sign of peace, because that's something that we all bring to the world. Okay. Oh, Steve's got 2. I see you. I see you. I see all of you. I think I got everyone. But let's now head into some breakout rooms with this I see you sawubona energy that I definitely am experiencing from all of you, and just chat a little bit and celebrate. And then Steve is going to bring us home.